How's it going, everybody? Level M Diecast. We have a 30 pack here. This 30 pack was sold at Sam's Club in the mid 90s. Includes several exclusive colors and stuff like that in there. Comes in this giant cardboard case, as you can see. All the blisters are together, so if you were to pull the center out, all the cars would fall out. So pretty nice to find this one still intact. On the back end of this, did have a little bit of a play mat that you can cut out and take out and look at and do all that good stuff like that. Some simulated trees and stuff like that on there, but nothing fancy. So we'll go ahead and chop this open and we'll take a look at the models. All right, we're going to kick this off in no particular direction, no particular order. We're just going to go through them. This is the modified racer. This one is an exclusive color. This one is in blue. So they have done, I believe, a purple or a red. It'll be on the screen though, but they've done this deco before, just not the same blue base color. This particular casting was used pretty extensively for some of the racing stuff they did in the mid 90s, early 90s. There were some individual modified cars that were done. Didn't really hit the basic range all that much. I think it was in the basic range for a few years, but never really changed from orange. Also got this in, I think, 2 separate 5-packs as well. But this one looks pretty good. Does have those nice big slicks on it, which I always thought were cool. They never use those very much. Chrome base on this one. Some variations have some additional chrome on the pieces for like the air cleaner and stuff like that. So pretty cool casting. Definitely not something that they make anything near that anymore. Keeping on with the racing theme is the sprint car. This one also used a little bit during the 90s. This casting was really not used all that much. Did see it in the basic range, a couple 5-packs as well. Just not very popular for sure. I thought it was a great casting. I thought they did a fantastic job with it. Does have the front wing and the top wing on it. A couple of different variations on this one. This particular deco has been used. Again, but not with blue. Blue has not been used before. They used it in red. So this blue is exclusive as well. So that one looks pretty good. Does have kind of the combination, the big giant slicks on the back and the smaller Goodyear Eagle slicks on the front, which looks pretty good. Does have a Chevy logo on there for, must be a Chevy engine. All right, next one we're going to take a look at. This is the Alfa Romeo GTV maybe. Forget what the name of this one is, but this is an exclusive color. So we did see this one in red with that same Alfa Romeo on the side, but this one looks pretty good in green. The tan interior. Another casting that didn't get used a ton, but I thought it was pretty cool, pretty unique. I saw one of these at a car show earlier this year, a real one, which was kind of cool. First time I've seen one of those in real life. Very interesting designed car, but looks pretty good. That is the SZ, so not GT anything. It was the SZ. All right, next one up, of course, is the ambulance. This is from the Superfast era. This is a pretty cool one. Does have opening doors in the back. This particular deco, again, has been used before, but it was white. Now it is yellow. They did use a similar yellow with some print over it for White Rose edition, but that one was not the same deco style. So this one is exclusive as well, which looks pretty good. I do like the kind of weird combination of colors, the yellow and orange, which interesting. It's just an interesting color combination. Another exclusive version here. This one unfortunately has a little bit of yellowing issues with the container in the back, but the good thing is it's the exact same version of the container. It's just the truck that changed. This one is blue, exclusive blue. Regularly in the main line and stuff like that, it came in red. But the sticker on the container in the back is the same between the two. So I can probably replace the container, although I would have to find one of the red ones at some point in time. Of course, the Volvo container truck, the container comes off the back, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, the container doors open up, and then there's little notches on the bottom. This does fit the fork system that they had. The containers don't particularly stack. So that's the only drawback to these particular containers. The older ones that they used for like the flatbed cars on the trains and stuff like that, the ones they used for the flatbed, those ones stack perfectly fine. Those ones have forklift holes in them as well. All right, moving with some more emergency vehicles. This is the Superfast Snorkel truck. It does have an extending boom. There's a guy standing on the back there. They did do a Hero City retake on the Snorkel fire truck in about 2002, 2003 era, which was pretty ugly. It just wasn't very good. This one is exclusive. This is red as the base. That particular deco on there has been seen a bunch of times. Well, not a bunch of times, but it's been used regularly, but it's typically over a kind of a neon orange. So this one's kind of cool because it's got the red on there, which I think is just a nice little change up for it, which looks pretty good. Not too bad of a model. Quite a few of those snorkel trucks. Matching deco for our Mack. This guy, the Floodlight Heavy Rescue. This one says Newfield Borough Fire Department. This one, again, exclusive with the red base color. Obviously seen this one with the neon orange. It's also had a couple base variations. Chrome versus black. This one a little bit yellowed on the top, unfortunately. But it's not too bad. But it is yellowed, unfortunately. But I still think it looks good. I do like the red base color, which is definitely a cool, nice little flavor to it. All right, some service vehicles. Of course, this is the Superfast era refuse truck. Does have a working back section there. This is an exclusive base color on this one as well with red. The regular one that came in the med, I think it came in the midline, was green. So that one looks pretty good. I do like the kind of flavor on this one, which is pretty nice. Kind of an interesting thing because they didn't change the rear part and they didn't change the green print, which I thought was kind of interesting. But it does still say refuse disposal on the side. And of course, the thing just slides and you can dump the trash out of the back of it. No interior on that one, by the way. All right, this one is a little bit of a question mark, I should say. There's not really anything particularly exclusive about this one. This one was in the main line. However, the version that I have on that bottom stripe there where it says original flavor, it's a really, really dark blue on this particular one. The one that I currently have in the collection is quite light blue. Not super light blue, but very noticeably light blue. Not really sure if these are going to have base variations because I'll have to take a look at them. Maybe just because it's China. This whole pack has got China bases on them, by the way. So maybe that's why it could just be manufacturing location. But I guess I'll see when I throw it in there. But just throwing that up there and pointing that out for you guys, just in case you might have a question. All right, one of the models I've been looking for forever was the Dakota in blue. Of course, we got this exact deco just with a red base instead of blue. Of course, blue being Sam's Club, which was obviously why most of these tend to have kind of blue undertones or whatnot. Part of Walmart and stuff like that. But this one had exact same deco on the outside as the red one. The red one also had an interior or a roll bar variation. You could have chrome roll bars in the back or black roll bars in the back, which is pretty good. And then, of course, this guy has super suspension, which is one thing I've always loved about this casting. Just one of the cooler castings that Matchbox ever did. The first generation Dodge Dakota was super cool. All right, one of my favorite castings from Matchbox, probably of all time, the Chevy TopKick snowplow. This one is based on the original debut deco. It was all yellow. Did have that International Airport Authority number 45 on the side, but the blade was yellow and the salt hopper in the back was yellow. Did get updated to get a yellow salt hopper and then a red salt hopper and then a red plow in the front. And then, of course, it's been used a bazillion times since then. But this one is based on those. It's just a orange base color, which I think is cool. Orange and red's a nice combination. continuing to mark off these plows. There's not too many of these plows I don't have. I'm definitely getting down to some nitty gritty for sure. Same base orange color for the school bus. Of course, this is the exact same deco that we got on the main line. Just a little bit of black print on the side, School District 2. A little bit of black print on the back, says number 51. This does have that orange base color, though, exclusive again. We've seen a bunch of different yellows and stuff like that through the main line. International bus, by the way. I do like the chrome on the grille in the front. Definitely one of the cooler buses. It was, mocked a lot and replicated a lot in cheaper diecast. Between this one and the Ford school bus that Hot Wheels did, everybody copied those, just ridiculous amounts. All right, some other models here. We got some cars here. This is just the exact same model as the main line, the IMSA Mustang. It's got an opening hood. Looks pretty good. Just standard release color, nothing fancy with this one. Says Mach 1 on the side. Does have chrome base, chrome interior. I'm sorry, black base. The interior is chrome with the side pipes being chrome. But it looks pretty good. It's from older era of Matchbox. Does have suspension, though, which is pretty cool. Kind of based on a Boss Mustang, which I think is pretty cool. Like I said, just does have an opening hood. Pretty good details down in there. Definitely like this casting. I'm not sure how often they've used this casting back in the day, but I will probably only have like about 3 or 4 versions in the current collection. All right, Rover Sterling. I do believe this car was sold in the U.S., but I think there was a version that was also sold as an Acura. But good-looking car, terrible quality. Good-looking car, though. This one is a very, very nice metallic blue with a kind of a graphite gray over it. There's a couple different versions of this. Now, I do believe there's some changes to the blue. Again, I'll have to check the base. They also released this one without the Rover Sterling print on the side, so just with the blue and gray two-tone. But I do have one with the Rover Sterling print on the side. Looks like the blues are different. I'll have to check that out. Maybe, again, it is a China-based difference. But nonetheless, a good-looking car in real life. Good-looking model from Matchbox. Did a good job on it. Just not a very good car quality in real life. Definitely not. All right, some rally car action. Of course, there is the RS200, the exact same version as the mainline. They did this one in red. They also did one in blue. Casting is all metal, quite heavy. Does have the off-road wheels on it. Always thought this was a cool casting. Matchbox did a pretty good job on it. I think the details were really spot on. The wheels weren't that great of a choice, but that's pretty much what they had to work with. There's a lot of good casting details and stuff in this one. And the prints are pretty good. They're not super great, but they're pretty good. But like I said, it's got a metal base and stuff on it, which is pretty cool. We do have another rally car in the mix. Of course, this is the Peugeot 205. This is the same version as the mainline release. I don't believe that this particular model was released in the U.S. Outside of like this pack, maybe something else special. Certainly wasn't in the mainline as far as I remember. But this guy does have an opening hatch in the back. This casting, in my opinion, was always flawed with quality issues. They never rolled very well. There's a lot of flashing all over the place. You can see it. It just doesn't look like a very refined casting. The back does open up, but it doesn't open all that well. Usually this one opens up relatively well. It is a pretty big piece, and it is metal. Quite a bit of detail down in there. You can't see the engine detail and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. But other than that, just an interesting casting. Just not very good quality. They were pumping out some not very good quality models at that particular time. All right, getting back to an exclusive color. Of course, this is the Dodge Challenger. Of course, the version of this one in yellow is one of the most iconic 80s era Matchbox. It just is. This one looks absolutely fantastic in white, though. I like the white. Really brings out all the brands and stuff on there. American Racing, Krager, Crane Cams, Holly, all that stuff looking super, super cool. Just really, really in your face. Says Toyman on the side. Got some valvoline as well. Metal base. Big old jacked up rear end on it. Such a cool casting. Black vinyl roof. Just super cool. Just screamed, late 70s, 80s vibe. And really cool to get this one in white finally. And of course, you guys know, a bit of a Mopar guy, so definitely happy to have that one. All right, Opel Astra, Opel Cadet as well, or Opel Cadet something Astra. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. It's the exact same car under two different brand names with two different names, but it just depends on how they marketed it and where they sold it. So there it is, Vauxhall Cadet. No, Opel Cadet and Vauxhall Astra. There we go. I knew I'd figure it out eventually. This casting is pretty cool. I like this one. There's been a ton of versions. They've done police versions. This particular one, just a normal release. This one came in the blue box specifically, if I remember correctly. Not a huge expert on some of the 80s Matchbox, but I'm fairly certain this came in the blue box. Fairly certain this was not sold as a normal model in the U.S., but this one looks kind of cool. It does have some opening doors. Pretty good suspension on it normally. This one sticks quite a bit. So kind of has some hydraulics going on there. But there's the base deets. So it does list both the Vauxhall Astra and the Opel Cadet conjointed, which I always thought was just kind of weird, just ridiculous. All right, exclusive color to the mix, Nissan Prairie. This was just recolored from the mainline release that was in silver with blue interior, which was a good combination to have that black print on the side with the Nissan logo. Changed it to red, but they left the blue interior, so it just doesn't look good at all. Doesn't go together whatsoever. But at least it's an exclusive color. One extra one to throw into the mix. The Nissan Prairie, nothing really fancy going on there. Just kind of a crossover between a crossover and a minivan, which is kind of what they were doing in the 90s. There was a lot of that shit. A lot of that stuff. All right, next one up is a really, really nice one. This is the Saab 9000 Turbo. So the original version came in white. Still had all the same graphics and decos on there, but this one in silver has a amber window, which looks fantastic. Doors do open. The Saab was used sparingly. They didn't use it a ton. It does have a nice separate piece there in the front with some chrome for the headlights, which I always thought was pretty cool. I really wish they would have used this casting more. I think the best version by far was in the Ultra Edition, Ultra something that they released, but full deco, like the next step up from Premier's, came in that 2-car set, came in this nice fancy box with styrofoam and all kinds of stuff. But that one fully decoed up is definitely by far the best version they've ever done. Unfortunately, I don't have that version of this car, but it was quite nice. I do like the Saab 9000 Turbo. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some Saabs back eventually, even though they don't exist. All right, this is the Sunburner. This comes from the early Tyco years. This one was literally designed to be the Viper, literally. That was its sole purpose in the beginning. Chrysler didn't like the casting, so they went back and rebuilt it. I think they were basing this on the original Viper concept at first. But apparently Matchbox had gone so far through the design process that they decided to release it as a model anyways. We did get the Viper RT anyways, but you can see where the design cues came from. They just released this as the Sunburner. This is an exclusive color with white, with, of course, the sun burning on it. Our original mainline version came in like the neon yellow, which looked pretty good. Did have the same wheels on this as the mainline with just the big Goodyear slicks. Not a great looking model, but they were able to salvage it. There was a few versions released. Didn't last very long in the mainline, the basic range. But that's perfectly fine. All right, the Wheelies. This is just the exact mainline release. Nothing fancy about this. One of the more common ones from Matchbox. I believe this came out in the mid-late 80s originally, this particular deco. It's okay. I mean, there's nothing fancy with it. It's a good casting, but it's kind of big. and you know, kind of harkens back to some Superfast era. So it didn't quite fit well into the 80s, but we did get a couple of versions. It's all right. It's all right. 1996 Ford Transit. Might be a first-gen. I'm not really sure when the Transit debuted. This may be a first-generation Transit. I'm not really sure. This was not sold in the U.S. The real version was not, so neither was this one, I don't think. This was kind of a interesting deco on the side. Cadbury's Flake. Obviously, Cadbury's is a toy, or not a toy, a candy manufacturer. Went totally blank there. I do have this one in the mix, so definitely not exclusive to the pack. I do have this model already in the collection, but I don't think that this was sold outside the blue box. I think this was a blue box release. But I could be wrong on that one. I don't remember this being in the main line, so I'm fairly certain this wasn't in the main line. I do like that casting, though. It's pretty cool. All right, the Fawn dump truck. This is a modified version from the original Superfast release. Doesn't say Fawn on the bottom or anything like that. There's no Fawn on the casting. But it is still all metal, which is pretty nice. Of course, it is ridiculous mining dump truck with the huge off-road wheels on it. They still use the same basic design to this day for the water hauler, as they call it. Highly modified since this particular version. Ridiculously modified since the original Superfast version. But this one just in red dump over yellow. Not exclusive, just a re-release of just the standard mainline release. Just a dump truck. It's a pretty heavy one, though, because the dumper's pretty heavy. The dumper's pretty heavy. All right, next one up here, we do have the NASA Rocket Transporter, and unfortunately, this guy has seen some yellowing, some sun rays coming through. There are a couple versions of the NASA Rocket Transporter, a couple different decos, but this one's just a standard release. Nothing fancy with it. Came out in the main line, a little bit of print on the rocket. Rocket obviously stands in the back of it and then could take off and launch. It was a pretty cool model. They also did a version that held a jet fighter in the back as well, which was kind of cool. This model lasted pretty much all the way through the early 2000s until they stopped using the casting, obviously because it was too many parts and it was just going to get too expensive. We did see it in the Battle Kings for a little while, which was kind of cool. Seeing it in some proper military deco. All right, Volkswagen Transporter truck. This one is also in the collection. This one is not exclusive to the pack deco-wise, but I do believe that this one was not a standard U.S. release. I think. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think this was a standard U.S. release. However, if you got it in this pack, if you got this pack, you got it. This is a pretty good casting. I only have a few versions in the collection. It's a relatively difficult one to find. I'm not really sure how many versions they've done. I know they did a Battle Kings version. I do have a military ambulance one, which is pretty cool. But I also have this one as well already in the mix. Does have a opening hatch in the back. Nothing fancy with it though. But it does have a moving part, which is kind of cool. And then of course it still has suspension. Doesn't have a huge amount of travel, but it still has suspension on it, which is cool. All right, the Icarus Coach. This one was not a standard U.S. release, but this was a standard mainline release outside the country, if I remember correctly. However, this was available, I believe this was available in a 20-pack. You could get this version in white with the Espana on the side. It's a pretty good version. You know, this bus is enormous in real life, so they really had to shrink it down in order to fit it in a blister. So it's like 1/110th scale, just an enormously compact bus. But it's pretty much all metal. So it's a bit of a heavyweight, a little bit of a little skinny on it, but it's just the way they had to make it work so that it looks proportionately light, right? Which I think is kind of cool. I like that model for sure. All right, Chevy Breakdown van. Cruising our rotator guy over there. This is just standard release. Nothing fancy about this one either. I do like this casting just because it's all metal. And it does have some pretty cool moving features. Obviously, the hook in the back, hooks onto a Matchbox, but it also has a spring in it so that you can actually actuate the lifting mechanism in the back, which is kind of cool. That 24-hour symbol has a little bit of yellowing on it, but that's fine. Already have it in the collection, not a big deal, but not too shabby. It's a pretty good one. This one also lasted into the early 2000s as well, with its moving feature, which is pretty rare. All right, British Railways. This is the steam locomotive. This is from, of course, the Lesney era. This also came in like that G4, G7, G something railway set. I think it came in that set. This casting did, maybe not this deco. A little bit too old for my knowledge, way too old. I'm just taking some stabs in the dark because it's kind of fun to do that sometimes. But not a bad version. I already had this one in the mix. This is not exclusive or anything like that. Just a pretty standard version. But, it looks pretty good. It does hook up to train cars and stuff like that. They've done some other locomotives and stuff that fits on the same track. Obviously, don't do anything like that nowadays. It's just not a whole lot of collectors when it comes to train stuff. Unless you're building a train layout, which is completely different. All right, last model in the entire pack, of course, is the Volvo Tipper truck. This is the canopy version with the double axle. This one in Prairie just says gripping stuff. That was their logo. Teeny little bit of yellowing on the canopy on the back, but not too bad. Of course, the canopy does come off of the back of it, which looks pretty good. Nothing fancy in the back of there. No details, no casting things, no cargo, no nothing like that. But not too bad. Not too bad. It looks okay. Looks okay. It's a Volvo tip truck. Not as good as the container truck, but it is the Volvo itself. So I think my favorite in the whole mix, we're going to be a little biased here because I like it, are going to be the two Mopars. I really do like that blue version of the Dakota, and I do like this particular Challenger in white. Looks pretty good. So there you go. That is the 30-pack from 1994 Sam's Club. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know if you have all these models or not. Some of these are super difficult. Actually, this pack's difficult to find. So if you guys got all these models, drop a comment. Let me know. I'll give you some props, give you some thumbs up. But we're going to roll out. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Love and take care. Peace.